Donkey Kong Country is one of the very best games in the Super Nintendo library. Full stop, end of sentence, I don't want to take no phone calls. With graphics so incredible they made Nintendo President Hiroshi Yamauchi think it was a work in progress slated for release on the upcoming Nintendo 64, and a soundtrack composed primarily by the legendary David Wise, this is as good as it gets in 16 bits. Now, I am well aware of the fact that up to this point, I am most likely not telling you anything that you don't already know. If you're watching this video, if you're a repeat viewer of my channel, I know that my audience, age-wise, tends to skew right around where I am. I know that you were there at the time, just like I was. The thing about it is, at least for me, I did not own a Super Nintendo when I was a kid. My brother and I had a Sega Genesis. We were playing Sonic. We were playing Crew Ball for some reason. You ever play Crew Ball? This was a pinball video game featuring a ton of music from the hair metal band Motley Crue, which is a really weird concept. Who came up with this? Why would you— I can't believe I've already gotten off topic. The point is this: you're watching Super 616, the Super Nintendo Exploration Series. Today, I'm exploring one of the all-time greats, Donkey Kong Country, for real, for the first time in my life. I've played DKC before, many times over the years, of course, but I had never beaten it. I had never even really come remotely close. Anything outside of those first couple levels, I pretty much just saw over the shoulder of the one and only bathroom money Tim Ewers, because he used to play this game constantly when we were kids, because he owned a Super Nintendo. Today, all of that changes. We're going to cover the history of Donkey Kong Country, know a little bit of where it came from and how it was made, and then we're going to go through the experience of playing the game all the way through for the first time ever. How does that sound? Welcome to Super 616, the Super Nintendo Exploration Series. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos and podcasts, and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the merch. As always, thank you for watching. When I was a little idiot kid in the 90s, I definitely recognized that Donkey Kong Country looked unbelievable. This was unlike anything I had at home on the Sega Genesis, and it didn't look like any of the other Super Nintendo games my friends had in their collections. Sonic was beautiful, the bold colors and blast processing of it all. I remember seeing Castlevania 4 at my friend's house and being absolutely floored by those Super Nintendo visuals. And then there was Mortal Kombat. Real people, you know? Digitized graphics that allowed for real fighters to compete in the game. But even that, it didn't stand up to Donkey Kong Country. There was no way for my 5 or 6-year-old brain to understand what I was looking at the time. To me, it was like, everybody looks like a little figure. It looks like I could pick that guy up. The words I was looking for was, this 16-bit video game looks like it actually has 3D characters. And the reason it looks that way, really, is because it does. Donkey Kong Country was developed for the Super Nintendo by Rare, a team that I still somehow feel like doesn't get their just due when it comes to how they push the hardware they're working on. Look at their 8-bit works on the NES. Wizards and Warriors, you kidding me? This was 1987. Battletoads in 1991 still looks unreal. RC Pro-Am 2, forget about it. These are 8-bit sprites captured from a dozen angles to create the illusion of 3 dimensions as the vehicle turns. Beautiful stuff. Quick fast forward to modern day, and Rare are the architects of the open ocean adventure Sea of Thieves. That's the most Baja Blast looking water I've ever seen in my life. How about it? For Donkey Kong Country, Rare were using the most state-of-the-art technology in the world at the time. We're talking about the same stuff they used on movies like The Abyss from James Cameron. Where did I learn all of this? That's easy. Donkey Kong Country Exposed. Who remembers this? This was a VHS tape sent out to select Nintendo Power subscribers. It detailed the behind-the-scenes production of the game. Listen, in 1994, nobody in the world had this sort of access. Not only were we getting an extensive look at the level-by-level gameplay, but the developers themselves were discussing how exactly they were crafting the character sprites and environments. This tape was the product of Nintendo's aforementioned president at the time, Hiroshi Yamauchi, completely rearranging the company's plans. He saw what Rare were doing. He got a look at how DKC was shaping up, and he said, "Hold the fort. Stop the presses. This is our new shining star. This is our centerpiece." Seriously, when he saw the tech in its early stages, he thought Rare were prototyping an N64 game. And who could blame him? From the falling snow in the treetops, to the glow of the lights hanging overhead down in the mines, the warping of the screen from the waves in the underwater levels, cascading rainfall and flashing lightning in the background, the time of day changing where the warmth of the sun is replaced by the soothing cool of the moon. There's not even anything I can say. You're seeing it. I don't have to tell you how unbelievable this all was at the time. It's still unbelievable now, 30 years later. I know some of these things you've heard before, probably several times, and you know what? Let me actually address that really quick. Not often, but every once in a while, I will get a comment from somebody saying like,
I've heard this before.
Yeah, dude, if you watch several people cover the same subject and it's being done in a retrospective style, going through the history and the facts are kind of important. It's kind of the name of the game. That's like being annoyed that your second grade history teacher happens to repeat something that your first grade history teacher already told you. We're going through the ages, man. The who, what, when, where, and why are not going to magically change just because somebody else is delivering the message, you know? But now I'm going off on a tangent about a very small sect of rare and annoying comments and getting derailed from what I'm trying to do here today. So let's get back to business. Let's talk about playing through Donkey Kong Country for the first time ever. Everybody knows we ain't playing nothing until we pop that sucker in. Yeah, on this show, all of the capture you see is recorded off a Shoot SNES cartridge. None of this is some fugazi PC recreation. I will note, because I've been asked a couple times, that the console I'm using to play is an analog Super NT. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best and most authentic Super Nintendo on the market today. Actually, they're not on the market today. Analog doesn't make these anymore. Do not go on eBay looking for one now because you don't want to know what people are asking for them. The company's next project is the Analog 3D, the first wave of which has already completely sold out. Man, somebody tell me I don't need it, alright? Please. And this is not sponsored, to be clear. This company just makes incredible products, and I'm answering a question that was asked. That's all. Anyway, Donkey Kong Country. That's why we're here today. It plays exactly the way I remember. Somersaulting as DK is smooth. Cartwheeling as Diddy is quick and sharp. Swinging from rope to rope high above the rest of the level is magical. Hopping on Rambi and smashing a hole in the wall to find a secret spot. Get out of town. Tagging between the two to switch in and out depending on who is better suited for the situation at hand. Come on. You get Winky involved and shoot into some hidden banana room? Oh, that's so much fun. Take a second to listen to some of these sound effects. Listen to the enemies coming out of this barrel. What is that? What is that sound? It's like somebody is closing a desk drawer. How about the smashing of a barrel? Why do these sound effects hit me the way they do? What is it about the tiniest details of this video game that I did not even own as a child that strike me so sharply? These red-eyed, cracked-out crocodiles underground that can only be stopped by changing the lights, they still creep me out. Take it underwater and listen to one of the most beautiful songs ever composed. Seriously, I'm not keeping the conversation simply to video game soundtracks. I'm talking broadly, across everything. Look at this. I just so happened to stumble upon this secret little section over here, and that's just another example of how much there is to do and find and explore and uncover in this game. Collect the Kong letters to earn an extra life, find hidden rooms and match up the golden gimmicks, collect 3 of the same golden gimmick and be transported into an ultra secret level where you can stack up several lives, 100 bananas at a time. Jeez, the very first level, don't even get going. Just turn around, go home, grab the extra life inside the house. How you doing? Everywhere, I am talking everywhere, there's something to discover. And that, right there, is not the first time I died. Obviously. This had probably happened, I don't know, maybe 40 times by this point. I mentioned that I was playing off a shoot cartridge, and I mentioned that my goal was to beat the entire game. That was my intention. Now, I do have to be very clear about one thing. There's one cheat that I used, and that was to start up the game with 50 lives. Now, I consider this a legitimate playthrough either way, because this was not game cheated in, this was not a hack. This is a real cheat code baked in to the real cartridge. You highlight erase game, you press BARRAL, and boom, 50 lives. How you doing? I used this cheat. Yeah, I did. I used it 3 times. I'm not kidding. I went through more than 150 lives in this playthrough. There's no doubt about it. You don't want to hear my commentary on every level, right? No, you don't have time for that, so I'll keep it relatively quick. Holy Jesus Christ on a crutch, is Donkey Kong Country so hard, dude. Goodness gracious. I knew it was difficult coming in. That's why I'd never gotten exceptionally far in the game over the years when I would pick it up and mess with it, but my God, this is so much harder than I was expecting. The very first minecart level had me frustrated already. Even tapping an overturned cart is enough to end your whole run. Snow Barrel Blast, I nearly had to place a wellness check call on myself. I went through over 20 lives on this stage alone. I was ready to climb to the top of a very tall building and hurl myself over the edge, when I discovered this on accident. And you know what? I'll take it. Trick, track, I can't even get into right now. Collecting this fuel while avoiding the wasps, make it stop. Between this and elevator antics, I ran out of lives. Game over. 50 lives cheat, and I ran out. Using a legit cartridge means I got sent back to my last save point as well, costing me nearly an hour's worth of progress. No save states here, Dan-Dans. If I didn't make it to Candy, I was not planting a new flag. Did I appreciate losing progress? No, I didn't. Fast forward to the very end, the final battle with King K. Rool. He's the reason this is all happening, by the way. This big fat jerk with his stupid Kremlin friends stole DK's banana hoard. Why? I don't know. Crocodiles aren't herbivores, they're carnivores. You'd think they would want to straight up eat the flesh of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, if anything. And what the hell is DK gonna do with a hoard of like 55,000 bananas? They're gonna go bad before he can possibly eat all of them anyway. Look, I don't know. The point is this. King K. Rool took me nearly 50 more tries to beat. It looks so simple. It looks so cut and dry, but I dare you to get through this inside of a few attempts. And if you're really good at this game and you've had years of practice and you can crush him easily, just keep it to yourself, alright? On what must have been my 39th and 40th tries, I was starting to feel like... And when you finally do beat him, there's a false finish through the credits. King K. Rool gets up and you have to go like 3 more rounds. Are you insane? But I got him. At 34 years old, for the first time in my life, I have beaten Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. DK's banana hoard has been replenished, and all is well with the world. So what is my opinion now, having played through the full game for the first time ever? It's one of the best of all time. And I know that that's not breaking news. I know that everybody considers DKC to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 Super Nintendo game in the library, sure. But this specifically is my personal story. This is Super 616. This show is about diving into the Super Nintendo library, and for me, this is an expedition that was long overdue, so just let me enjoy it for a minute, okay? Sometimes you hear about what is supposedly a classic for years and years, and then when it finally comes time for you to go hands-on with it, it's like, really? This is it? This is the game that you guys told me was top of the line? I don't think so. And I am happy to report that that is not the case here. And I could say, oh, I wish I would have done this forever ago, but I'm not going to say that because I'm glad I didn't do it forever ago. It means I was able to do it for the first time right now at 34 years old. I finally beat King K. Rool with the beautiful Tara Darcy and Panda Bear Karloff sitting right there on the couch with me. I bopped that big green jerk on the head one last time, and I turned to Panda Bear and I was just like, we did it, we got him. That's how you make a memory. I would not trade that for anything. With this episode, I wanted to right the ship. I wanted to correct the course of Super 616. You know, after covering Justice League Task Force and Spider-Man and the X-Men and Arcade's Revenge on the first 2 episodes, I started to wonder, why the hell am I focusing exclusively on games that either aren't anything special or are straight up bad when we're dealing with the entire SNES library, right? Some of the greatest video games ever made are filed away in this library. And I'm sure we'll continue to explore both the good and the bad, but this needed to be done. So I did it. You know what else I learned in my research of DKC for this episode? I had no idea that Diddy Kong went through a whole slew of names before they settled on his final label. Diet DK, DK Light, Titchy Kong, and Dinky Kong were all attached to the character at one point or another. And I kinda like Dinky Kong, and it seems Nintendo liked it too because it would eventually be used as the Japanese name for Kiddy Kong. I had no clue that Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong. This guy, that's him. I had no idea these were the same person. And playing through DKC and listening to everything Cranky has to say, not learning this is unavoidable. He tells you like 25 times. All while burying Donkey Kong Country and saying it's not a real game, there's no gameplay. It's all about graphics these days. It's amazing. And I also found it amazing that Diddy Kong flips you the finger at the end of the game. Look at him. I know that's not what it's supposed to be. I'm kidding, but it certainly looks like that's what he's doing. Have you ever wondered why DK wears a tie? Well, he wears one because that's how Shigeru Miyamoto just happened to draw him in his reference sketch for what Rare should do with Donkey Kong's design. Miyamoto just liked it. He thought it made him stand out. You know, it's business, but it's also a little silly. It's a gorilla wearing a tie, you know? What, did you think there'd be some in-depth explanation? No. Sorry, you don't like it? Take it up with Miyamoto. I didn't book it. Nintendo's pivot to focus their holiday marketing around DKC worked like a charm. I mean, how could anyone look at this game and not be blown away by it? Donkey Kong Country, released on November 21st, 1994, went on to sell over 10 million copies. We're talking about the 3rd best-selling game in SNES history, and the number 1 best-selling game on the console to not feature Mario in a starring role. 1 year later, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, would take the series further. And 1 year after that, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, would complete the trilogy. Maybe in the future, we can talk about those. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. Until then, I'm gonna call it like it is. 30 years later, Donkey Kong Country is still the king of the jungle. Oh, there it is. Another installment of Super 616, the Super Nintendo Exploration Series. I love this game to death. Now, did it make me want to, bash my head off the wall on multiple occasions? Absolutely. But what legendary platformer doesn't give you that feeling, Next time out, we take a look at, I don't know, you ever heard of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time? I mean, I've covered 1, 2, and 3 already. Why not round it out with 4? Patreon.com/616entertainment is where you can go to support the channel if you enjoyed this video here today and you want to see more like it. It is your support over there and right here under YouTube channel memberships that allows me to continue doing this. And yeah, don't sign up for both, just sign up for one. Pick whichever one you like better. They are practically the same thing. Until next time, I love ya, and I will see you soon.